What's up guys, I'm Dunmere. I'm a rank 1 peak Supervive player and I have almost 1,000 hours of playtime in the game already. So with that information, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a Zeph build guide. I'm going to talk about the best items on him, the best powers, and then the best level up order in addition to which ability you should put at level 3. Jumping right into this, we're going to start off with the items for Zeph. So in this little tier list here I have the meta builds at the top, and then I have below that the items put into tier list form. Now, so Zeph is kind of interesting. He is a damage-oriented character usually, so you're going to be running only damage items on him. But for a character that is damage-oriented, he still has one of the higher build variances in the game for a character like that. So there's some fun things you can do with him. Having said that, I think that there is a set of builds, these two at the top, that I think are basically like not just best in slot, but you have to use them if you're going for max value. But I'm going to give you guys some options otherwise. So with Zeph, this amplifier ability, or this amplifier item, is absolutely insane. Not only is it a cooldown reduction item, which gives just insane levels of power to a person who's playing Zeph, right, for its baseline cooldown reduction of 22% cooldown reduction, but it also gives you an additional 5% cooldown reduction for every time you consecutively use an ability, right? So if you use his nade, for example, you're getting a 22% cooldown reduction, and then you're getting an additional 5% each time, up to 10 times total. If you use any other ability, it cancels that and it starts a new one at 1. But you don't have to do that, right? So this is what this build is based around. Basically entering into fights with your nade already like maximum charge, and then just spamming the crap out of it. Just like spam, and just throwing your nades out nonstop, and trying to fish for kills, fish for damage until the fight has broken down enough that your team needs you to use your other abilities, like your heal or your ultimate, or maybe even your dash, right? So that's what this is built around. But having said that, Zeph is already a pretty mana-intensive character. His abilities all require a lot of mana, so you're kind of forced into using a mana blade, I would say. But you have two options, and those two options are Bubble Blade and Mind Blade. Mind Blade is the best in slot mana item for just the sake of getting item or mana, because every time you land a power on an enemy or an ability on an enemy, you get an additional 10 mana, and I believe it also counts for healing your allies. So you get an additional 10 max mana, up to 10 times that, so 100 total mana. But you also get a I believe it's a 20, like the way it says it in the tooltip is kind of awkward, but I believe it's 20 mana reduction on the cost of your ability that you use, right? So that's extremely useful, and that's like half of it makes most of his things like half cost, right? It's extremely powerful. But Bubble Blade gives a 25% HP shield on his on anything that he heals, right? So that's 25% extra healing for himself or his allies with his just heal abilities, or from the ultimate also. So go ahead and play with those and see which one you like best. I think they're both strong. If you're leaning more into like the supportive playstyle, then maybe go for Bubble. If you're leaning into, I want to just frag people and I want to churn out as many nades as I can, and my teammates are kind of on their own, then lean towards Mind Blade and see how that treats you. Having said that, if for some reason you don't think that you need to have a mana blade, and like maybe you feel like these meditation boots are just doing it for you and they're like giving you enough mana and you're like able to do that and you're meditating and you're chilling, Last Stand can be a unique little niche option for you. Last Stand, when you get below 40% HP, gives you an additional 50% HP, or 50% healing from any source, on top of buffing the Omnivamp from that up from 9% to 14%. So when you pop something like your ultimate at 40% HP, that would increase its healing by 50%. And then that would like chunk you up like a bunch, right? Because it will go over that 40% level for that first heal before it stops giving you the 50% healing buff, while also giving you some Omnivamp, right? So it's like it would be fun, right? I'm not saying it's good or the best, but it might be fun, right? And alternatively, you can maybe trade out the Mana Blade for like a Turbo Booster or something like that, or probably Grace might actually be better. But the Turbo Booster would be in case you were just like trying to farm up dashes and like aggro on side angles and stuff like that, and you know, maybe that's like a weird little option you could do. But Grace would probably be best, giving you 50% mana or movement speed extra at full HP. But other than that, there isn't really like a bunch of stuff you can do. Like I said, his healing scales off of his damage, and also the HP that you get. And like he's also just really damage oriented in general. So if you're not like going for like a tankier build, it isn't really going to get you the value that it could on like another character that heals, like Oath or Aluna. So yeah. So now getting into the level up order for Zeph, this is honestly like the most interesting level up order I found for any character really, because there's a lot of like really interesting stuff that he gets in his level ups, whereas some other characters just get like some pretty boring whatever stuff. He gets some really interesting things. But yeah, let's get into it. At the first level, I definitely recommend taking the dash. I say this in all the videos, but some people want to go for like one of the other things, like your nade, basically your damaging power to clear camps rapidly, but I think it's risky. It gets you into this habit where you might accidentally press it when there's enemies around, or you might use it when you don't know there are enemies that drop nearby you. And it's just, if you don't have your dash in a fight to either help yourself reposition or to kill enemies or to escape with, you're trolling, to be honest. So I would just default going dash first, and then you should go for your heal. Right? Having your dash and your heal makes you quite strong in a fight. And then you can start looking into the nade, right? And we'll talk about this in terms of the amplifier build, but this is kind of how I would default even if you aren't running the amplifier. Like you don't want to do that cheesy, just spam stuff. But the first, like I said, having the ability to rank up this nade, which is such a powerful ability, is pretty important, right? So for the next two level ups, I would recommend going insta doubling them into your nade. The first one gets you your nade, so you should do that. But then the next one, you should do that. I mean, obviously you should do that one, right? Get your nade level 3. But for 4, it's a choice between one of these other options. You know, do you want more cooldown reduction on your dash? That's important. Do you want an extra heal charge? That's important. So from 2 to 3 heal charge. Or do you want like to be able to get your additional 50% damage on your nade, and also be able to level up your nade to level 3 at level 6, right? Which is about the time you get your amplifier. So that's what I would default to. It's just really strong. And so maybe if you're, you know, this is why I'm saying there's like options, right? But this is still a powerful way to go in general. Maybe if you're finding yourself like always needing an extra heal and you're playing a more supportive playstyle, then maybe do your heal here instead at level 4, or if you find yourself getting caught out a lot, then maybe do your shift instead, right? But at level 5, definitely pick your ultimate. It's a really strong ability, right? At level 6, you're getting an extra 0.3, you're getting a 3-second cooldown reduction on your nade, and you're getting a 0.3-second stun duration, and you're getting it up to level 3. I simply recommend that. This is the best level 3 option in my opinion. The other level 3 ones have really interesting and niche cases that you should go try and have fun with, but I don't think they're just as objectively as powerful, right? The healing one gives a decaying speed boost. That's interesting. And the Cyclone Dash will give you a temporary wind ring if you cast it over the abyss. That's cool, but is it just as powerful as like an extra 0.3-second stun on the nade, and then a 3-second cooldown reduction for the spam, even if you aren't running an amplifier build? Like, no, right? So I would recommend doing that one. And then here at level 7 is where I started to question my own little build here. At level 7, you can opt into having either an extra charge for the healing, or making your ultimate 50% extra damage, right? The amount of damage you get from it is a lot, right? So it's kind of something to question about what you want exactly. But I would default into getting yourself your extra healing charge, right? And then going into the damage from your ultimate, especially if you're running amplifier build. And then for 9, as much as it seems weird to be taking your second dash last, considering I do it at level 4 at most characters, it is only a 2-second cooldown difference, and you do have your bunny hop. If you jump and you charge up your primary fire and swing it, and do it, you get distance. You don't really need it. So I would recommend doing cyclone dash last, right? So yeah, a little bit of a complicated build order. There's lots of different things you can try out. So go and experiment, but if you want something reliable, just go with what I put here. So jumping right into the powers, we have this little tier list thing I put together. This is my take on how you should think about power builds in a battle royale with random abilities, right? Or random items and all that. Essentially where you start off, if you see any of these powers, you can pick them up, but you should replace the powers at the bottom, the ones that aren't as good, with the ones that are better at the middle, and then the ones that are best at the top, right? So go ahead and use the ones at the bottom if you have nothing and you pick them up, but if you find the better ones along the way, replace them. An additional caveat to that is that some of these powers have very similar effects, right? For example, this delicate vision item here, the purple eye at the top of the dash category, the top dash category, that, and then the Raven Spy, the bat-looking thing on the yellow dash category, those do similar effects, so you don't need to keep both of those just because, you could, for example, like trade out your Raven Spy for one of the ones in the bottom row, because even though it's worse, it does an extra, they are not fulfilling the same purpose, right? So anyway, having said that, there are a couple different things that Zeph gets a lot of value from powers at. He gets a lot of value from powers that allow him to sustain himself. The powers that allow him to lock down an area with stuns, like this chonker cannon in the middle, the purple, the far one is strong, and then the one to the left of that one, this purple anti-mobility field with the guy in it. Those are really useful for locking down areas, stopping people from aggressing onto Zeph, in addition to Air Blast, which is going to knock people off of him in the same way. The other one is strong, right? Those are all powerful. Those are the mid-tier options. You have options like the sand wall at the bottom, or in the middle of the yellow dash tier. That one is going to keep people, off of you just for a tiny bit and stop some damage if they do get on top of you. And then you have something like the bungee at the top left, which is going to give you the ability to stop people from pushing a whole section area next to you, right? Because you can put this bungee between two areas, two pillars or something, in an area that you're vulnerable at, your right side is kind of vulnerable, and so you just pop it, and if enemies try and jump across it, they have to get a skill check, and if they take any damage, they're going to get slowed by the damage and get knocked around by the bungee probably, or maybe you even put it right on the edge of the map, right on the edge of the land, so they basically can't get through, type of thing. There's lots of usefulnesses with that kind of power, right? And then you have Kaiju Heart at the top, that'll just knock people back, the middle exotic item at the top. And so these are all things that'll just keep you able to survive longer on Zeph, and pre-plan and stop people from pushing into you. Those are really, really, really valuable. In addition to those, you have some powers that are going to give you the ability to aggress through walls onto people, and be able to see people through walls, right? The Raven Spy, which is the blue bat looking one on the dash, the yellow dash, that, and then the purple block with the white eye in it at the top of, or the middle of the orange dash. Those are going to give you the ability to see people through walls to some extent, right? Either by casting the Raven Spy onto a tree and seeing people that way, so you can toss grenades onto them, or your ultimate, or just having full HP with the delicate goggles, and then, which is the eye, and then just looking at people and just tossing nades nonstop at them, right? And so these are really, really useful options. Also, in addition to those, there are some more just niche options, right? The touch powers, these ones that all look like hands, it's kind of hard to see, but the bottom 3 ones will give you a burst of speed, HP, or mana, depending on the power version, when you run into an ally. And considering Zeph frequently tornadoes allies around, you can get a lot of value out of that, especially if it's like a wisp that just rezzed, right? They res, because you're rezzing them, they stand up, they get a burst of HP. Pretty useful, right? That sort of power is really useful. The tree prison, the middle of the yellow row, that one will let you just nade on top of people, put a giant ring of trees around them, and then it's perfect distance for your nade, or perfect size for your nade to just come there and land on them and explode them, right? Or your ultimate that goes through the trees. There's lots of little niche things you can do with that too. In addition, there's something like this hover wings, which a character like Zeph doesn't normally really need something, like he doesn't need insane amount of mobility. But when you pop it, if you use your little bunny hop technique on Zeph of holding your primary fire and releasing it as you're like using the hover wings, you get like mega distance, right? So you can escape basically guaranteed from a fight if like things get hairy and your team starts losing, right? And so those are all like your niche options. But Zeph also gets a lot of value out of powers that are going to help you res your team. And those are these Guardian Angel ones right here. The purple looking Phoenix thing on the top right, and then the red one above that. Those are both options that are going to give you like huge value in terms of resing something, because not only do they apply this like passive res over time Guardian Angel effect, but they also increase the res speed, right? So it's extremely valuable to pick that up on Zeph if you find those. Yeah, guys. So these are all the powers you're looking for. Go ahead and kind of like play around them and customize what you're looking for to your style. You know, maybe you want to go for like the more like spam oriented amplifier build. Maybe look for those delicate goggles, or the tree prison kind of stuff with the Raven Spy. Toss the tree prison and then get the vision with the Raven Spy through walls. Those are all things you can do on Zeph. So yeah, have fun with it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions or have anything to say, go ahead and throw them into the comments below, or come follow me on my Twitch and my YouTube when I'm streaming, and go ask them there.